I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 3rd, brought to you in part by Vita Ferm and their long line of products with patented Amaferm. And a lot of these supplement companies have Amaferm in their product, but Vita Ferm is the ones that make it by Biozyme. A lot of the other ones don't put enough in there to do any good. They just want to put it on there that they actually have it in there. But you got to get Vita Ferm. Comes in their mineral, their drench, gels, liquid boosts, and tubs. Help your operation stay profitable. Go to VitaFerm.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma, got a good run for the regular Tuesday cattle auction here today. 3,800 head. Got a good run of calves and yearlings, about 1,400 yearlings on hand. A lot of 8 and 9 weight steers. Got to have at least 14 load lots of 8 and 9 weight yearling feeder steers there. Got a couple loads of 7 and 8 weight heifers, and then a couple more loads of heavy 6 and light 7 weight heifers there. But and I talked to Lane Conkle there at Beaver on Monday evening. He said it is fall. He said it was cool in the air. The trailers were lined up. A lot of top quality calves. He said long-haired calves, most of them unweaned, but the quality is outstanding. About 2,200 calves on offer. Like I said, tons of top quality calves. They'll be sorted up in nice groups for you there. Not nothing special in the cow run really, except for maybe 25 head of first calf heifer pairs that will be on offer there at Beaver County Stockyards. Go to DVAuction.com, view and bid their sale there in Beaver, Oklahoma. Ag commodities bounced back on Monday here after they were down hard midweek last week, and then late in the week down hard again after we thought they'd kind of recovered. And most of the reasoning everybody was talking about is that they averted the government shutdown. Really? I don't think it's that big a deal. I told you before, I went through shutdowns when I worked for USDA. The only reason that they have a shutdown is they want chaos. And most of your government programs when it comes to agriculture would continue. They would continue to grade cattle, so your packers wouldn't be interrupted at all. They would continue to do that. They would continue to inspect. That wouldn't be interrupted at all. Now some of your marketing, your ag marketing service things like Market News would be shut down. I worked for Market News when I was there. That was the worst trouble that I got into, which I was always in hot water there, but was working during the government shutdown. I had to oversee a federal state correlation, grading correlation. We had the cattle set up to look at. We had the state people coming in. They already had their rooms and everything lined up. Everything was lined up. It just so happened that this grading correlation was to take place the week that the government was shut down in 2013, and oh my gosh, you'd have thought that I'd set the Capitol building on fire or something like that. They just don't want you to do your job because they want chaos. Everybody knew, and they always do, they go back and pay everybody back after it's opened back up. It's not that big a deal. But that was kind of a big deal to everybody here to start the week, is that they come within hours of having a government shutdown, and they've got it going back for 45 days, so likely we'll have to look at this again. But, the main thing they were talking about is with Market News, there would be no weighted averages for your packers to exploit, which is what they do, and mandatory price reporting has played right into the packers' hands. They can use that information there to set those formulas, set the base price for the formulas, and then they use the packers' playbook to keep those prices down that actually make those weighted averages. But even with government reports, there's still no price discovery. And why is the industry making such a big deal about this possible government shutdown? And then they think on Monday morning, oh, we didn't have a government shutdown, so now your board's going to go back up. Why does the industry think that is such a big deal, but they do not think it's a big deal that we don't have any price discovery? Why do they not get behind Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act that would stop the bleeding that's almost bled this thing completely dry of negotiated sales and start building it back up again? Mainly because NCBA, Texas Cattle Feeders, and Kansas Livestock Association fight against it with every tooth and nail and your dollars that they can get their hands on. But it just seems kind of disgusting to me the way everybody thought that was a big deal whenever we hardly have any negotiated trade to establish those weighted averages. Those computer programs that Market News has, they're still going to establish the weighted averages, albeit on extremely light receipts. And then whenever we don't trade enough cattle to make the threshold of where those averages are supposed to be established on, they just go back in there and tweak them a little bit lower so they can just buy fewer and fewer and fewer cattle on the cash market. You guys know how I feel about that. Let's talk about your board to start the week out. October live cattle futures were up, but just 22 cents because they don't want to take a chance on any deliveries being tendered. But 184.42 for your October contract. December was up 42 cents at 188.35. Your back months were up more. They were up 42 to up 77 cents. Now feeder cattle had more recovery to do, and they did a little bit more, but not nearly as much as they took off last week. But October feeder cattle were up 85 cents at 253.32. November was up 80 at 255.70. Your back months were up 75 cents to $1.45 higher, and mostly all over $1 higher. Talk about your grains. December new crop corn 4.88 3/4 a bushel. That was up 12. Beans ended the regular trading on Monday at 12.77. That was up 2 cents. And new crop, or not new crop, but just December Kansas City hard red winter wheat. That's the closest up spot month there, but long after harvest has been gone. But that was up 13 cents. Of course, it's very volatile at 6.76 3/4. Talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region, which is what establishes a market. Like I said, we don't have much trade. Out of the whole 5-area feeding region, only 62,100 head confirmed sales last week. That compares to 69,800 the week before and 83,900 the same week a year ago. But live sales of steers and heifers ranged in the 5-area from 181 to 186. That was a buck lower. Your weighted average on live steers was 183.64. That was down $1.09. But roughly your market in the northern plains was $1 to $2 lower at 184 for the most part live, $2 lower dressed at 290, and your southern plains was mostly steady at 183. But dress sales in the 5-area ranged from 288 to 293. That was very uneven. But your weighted average on dress steers was down $1.72. That's quite a bit at 290.27. So hardly any difference in price from the northern plains to the southern plains, guys. Nationwide, 73,500 sold negotiated, 87,200 the week before that, and a little over 100,000 the same week a year ago. Of that 73,500, about 20% of them, which is light for the 2 to 4 week delivery, so that's good. They're not getting set up too much out in front of us to bring the market back down. But negotiated grid sales 48,600 last week, forward contracts 28,100, and formula sales, no price discovery, 259,900 head. Box beef cutout values were higher to start the week out. Did we establish bottoms last week? Did we get solid footing? We don't know. It seems like your week starts out there a little bit higher and then they slip back lower again. But on Monday afternoon, your choice cuts are up $2.30 at 303.08, and selects were up 94 cents at 276.98. Slaughter was estimated on Monday at 125,000. That's about normal. Talk about your Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. Don't forget their big cow sale that's coming up this Thursday evening. Over 1,000 head of cows on offer. and that's going to be this Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And on October the 5th, they're going to have lots of pairs, lots of bred cows, lots of spring calving stock cows there. Get on to DVAuction.com, get approved beforehand so you can bid on those cows. Talk about what else is going on. Night Latch Group. Whether you retain ownership on one pen or if you feed thousands of them, your livestock gross margin policies can be tailored to fit your operation. Hold on to your cattle investment. Go to nightlatch.net. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through the middle 12 states. Late in the day on Monday was sitting at 249.13. That was down 30 cents from the end of last week. And your markets were a little tougher. Your yearling feeder cattle, it was tough on them because last week we lost so much ground on your far out front cattle futures. So your LRPs aren't you can't lock them in nearly as well as you could early last week. And that showed up in your bids today and your sale barns are on Monday. Your big sales on Monday, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 6,500 head. Feeder steers were $2 to $5 lower. Feeder heifers are $3 to $6 lower. That's pretty significant, guy. And your feeders were called mostly plain there. So we've run out a lot of those fancy feeder cattle that the feedlots really like. They're going to have to start feeding calves. Your calves sold steady to $5 higher though. Good demand for calves. And the weather's starting to cool off a little bit. We're seeing a big cool front move across the middle part of the country, taking your temperatures down. Both high temperatures for daytime and then your lows at night. Going to get some moisture around, which could help the guys that are trying to get this wheat sowed right now. And that's going to bring about the big weather changes that brings about all the sick calves. That's why October is National Dead Calf Month. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 5,200 and their cattle were $6 to $10 lower, with the exception of your heavier feeder steers, and they were only steady to $2 lower, but the market was tough in Joplin compared to how it's been here for the last several months. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. That 4,200 head on offer. Calves were not well tested, but they had a really good run of heavier feeders still moving up there in the northern plains. Look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you see your best tested weights are on the heavy side. 389 head of 8-weight steers averaged 866 with a weighted average price of $240.89. 411 head of 9-weight steers averaged 961 at $230.68. Heifers, 735 head of them in the 8-weight category averaged 855 at $227.34, and 618 head of 9-weight heifers averaged 934, weighted average price $215.77. Thought that was pretty good on big heifers like that. They had a lot of steers that weighed over 1,000 pounds, feeder steers that don't make your automated market report through Cattle Market Central, but one long stick-out sale of them was 319 head of steers that weighed 1,020 pounds and still bring $229.50. Faith Livestock Auction in Faith, South Dakota had a good sale, and they were opposite. They didn't have a great test on the big feeders, but they had an excellent test of fancy calves. About 2,600 head of feeders through the ring there in Faith, South Dakota. 345 head of 4-weight steer calves averaged 472 with a weighted average price on all of them at $341.86. Mercy. 506 head of 5-weight steer calves in Faith had a weighted average weight of 534 pounds and a weighted average price on all them of $322.81. Very impressive. How about your best tested weights of heifer calves? 322 head of 4-weight heifer calves averaged 452 pounds at $327.59. Very impressive on their lightweight fancy calves there in Faith, South Dakota. Give you some individual quotes from around. How about Aberdeen, South Dakota? Aberdeen livestock sales, They sold 68 big steers, weighed 812 pounds at 257 and a quarter. Market I've never talked about before. Rich Prairie Livestock Exchange in Pierce, Minnesota, sold 65 steers, weighed 780 at 260.50. Might be some farmer feeders interested in those middleweights. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Tina, Missouri, Tina Livestock. That's very rural northwest Missouri there. It was the Brum Farm steers, 107 of them, and these were green yearlings. Weighed 723, bring 275.50. They were professionally purchased and marketed by my good friend Dwayne Penny. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.